Looks like Facebook and YouTube are both working. Sweet. Let's see. If you're just joining us, thanks for hanging out. We're getting started just a little bit earlier today, at least going live anyway. Um, we will officially start at 9 a.m. Central Time or 10 a.m. Eastern, depending on where you're located. Mark, good morning, buddy. Thomas, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everyone's healthy. Again, we're going to get started officially in about 5 minutes. Again, thanks for everyone that's tuned in, that's going to hang out with us this morning, however long that might be, where you're going to get started officially at 9 a.m. Central Time. That's 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific for any of our West Coast friends. Cole, can you give me a mic check?
Check 1, check 2, check, check, check.
Sounds good over here. Once again, for everyone that is tuning in, thanks for joining us. We are going to get started officially in about 2 to 3 minutes. Once again, for everyone that's on the stream, good morning. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. We're going to give our WrestleMania predictions. We are going to recap a little bit of last night's programming. We might talk a little bit about Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if we'll get to that today. And we are also going to, I am also going to give more details about our next belt giveaway, as well as our giveaways in general. So, again, we're going to get started officially in about another minute or two. If you're on the stream, say hi. Let us know that you're here. We'd love to hear from you. We like reading comments. We do pretty good about reading comments on the air. So say hi. Let us know that you're here. If you're checking us out for the first time, welcome. We're going to get started in about another minute. All right. It is officially 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, so we're going to get started.
Promotional consideration.
That is the second week in a row I've done that. All right. Let's try that one again. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next edition of the Going Broadway podcast. We're on episode number 20. I'm Alex. To my left is Cole. It looks like, at least for the immediate future, this is going to be a two-man show. We initially had aspirations of it being three of us, but it looks like unless something changes, it'll just be the two of us, which is totally fine. So, Cole, what's happening?
You know, it's a jam-packed week of wrestling.
Which is really ironic because with this coronavirus stuff, it's just saying that it's a jam-packed week of anything sounds weird.
Right.
But hey, William, how's it going, man? Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. But before we get started, I just wanted to extend a personal thank you, or at least as personal as possible, to everyone that has liked our Facebook page, that has followed us on Twitter. Like I said, we're on episode number 20, so that means we've been doing this for a little over 2 months now, and just the support is amazing, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate you guys supporting us, checking us out, and I'm just glad to be able to give back as far as, you know, the T-shirt giveaways and the belt giveaways that we've been able to do and that we will do. So again, from the bottom of my heart, as much as I can express this from a personal standpoint, again, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Details about the next belt giveaway will be revealed later in the show. So stick around. We'll keep you updated on that. I will say that we will do another T-shirt giveaway once we hit 1,500 likes on Facebook. So we're about 400 from there at last I checked. So help us get there. Share our podcast page with your friends and your groups on Facebook. Share us on Twitter. And again, we just really appreciate it, guys. So, tell you what, let's just dive right in. I think instead of doing recaps first, let's do a WrestleMania predictions just right off the bat and get that out of the way. Actually, before we do that, I just wanted to bring up a couple of, I guess, quick stories. So it was revealed that AEW is finally bringing in a mid-card title. At least it looks to be a mid-card title, the AEW TNT Championship. Obviously, it's, you know, we've mentioned on previous shows that it can't necessarily be a television title, or at least by that name. I shouldn't say it can't, but I mean, Ring of Honor uses it. NWA is now using it. They just recently brought it back. So it's an homage to the television title, as it were, or as it was in NWA/WCW. I'm cool with it. I mean, I like the idea. I like the concept of it. As long as they stick with for old school fans out there that know what I'm talking about, they stick with the TV title rules. So it's only defended on TNT shows. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's defended on pay-per-view events. But then again, pay-per-view events are only every 3 months, as opposed to WWE doing it once or twice a month. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being a belt collector. I'm looking forward to seeing the belt design. They released the brackets of the tournament between AEW Dark Tuesday night, and then on last night's Dynamite, we've got Shawn Spears and Cody, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, Lance Archer and Colt Cabana, and Kip Sabian and Dustin Rhodes in the first round. So, Cole, what are your thoughts on the title in itself and then the tournament?
I love the title, like the idea. It's just different because no one has like a, their TV channel or their brand on a title. You know what I mean? Like no one's doing that, which just again separates AEW from everybody else. There's no Intercontinental Champion, there's no United States Champion, there's no television champion. Everything there, I like the uniqueness of that, and I like the choices of people that they have in this tournament. The caliber of talent that's in this tournament has a good mix of people who you think have no shot of winning. As far as like Colt Cabana going over Lance Archer or Kip Sabian, winning and going further than what he is. But I also like it because it finally gives Cody Rhodes something, prominent to do.
Right.
Since he lost the match that says he can never challenge for the AEW World Title, it gives him something to shoot for, which I like.
I agree from the standpoint that, like you mentioned, it's unique, but then again, it's not. It's unique because, again, like you said, no one is saying, WWE is not saying, hey, we have the Fox Championship or the USA Championship or what have you. I read last night that someone was they said that this was on just a social media. I don't remember if it was Twitter or Facebook. They mentioned that they were surprised that the tournament is not bigger. I'm assuming they're surprised it's not like a 16-man tournament, and they were surprised about some of the names that were left off. You guys got to remember, there are some of their talent that are quarantined in foreign countries. Like Pac can't be in it because he's stuck in where's Pac from? I
don't know specific.
I'm gonna look it up just because I'm curious. I know he's English, but I don't know if he lives in England. I don't know where he's residing now at the moment, but I've read that he's stuck at his home, as are a lot of wrestlers. I know that we haven't seen Lucha Bros on TV for a while, so I'm assuming
that whole team is probably
yeah. So they're probably going with guys that they know are going to be available, and all of these guys have been on TV, whether it be in the ring or as part of their their crowd or whatever, every week for the last 2 weeks. So to me, it makes sense that they're using the guys that are available. It makes sense that it's a shorter tournament as well because just with all the uncertainty that's going around with the coronavirus, they're probably looking to do as much as they can with as much of a finality result as soon as they can. If they've got a 16-man tournament, it's going to take longer to do that, especially if they're only doing 1 or 2 of these matches per Dynamite. I know they said, I think Shawn Spears and Cody is next week. And I might be getting these wrong. I think they said in 2 weeks, Lance Archer and Colt Cabana match is happening. So I don't know. And we'll get to this. I don't mean to rabbit trail too much. I really enjoyed Dynamite last night. It just the more closed in studio type feel. And and of course it's they can't have anything in Florida now because of their mandatory mandatory shelter in place. That's the word I was trying to think of. So no NXT, no WWE, no AEW in Florida at the moment. So it wasn't released where AEW had their show, because it was live, or at least as live can be. There might have been a 2-minute delay or tape delay or whatever they call it. I almost bet that it was at their I don't know if you noticed, you could see turf that was on that was like on the ground where some of the guys were standing. I wouldn't be surprised if that was held at where Cody has his Nightmare training facility or whatever it's called, because I know that they are supposed, well, I don't know, but they supposedly had the show somewhere in the Southeast, and this Nightmare training facility, whatever it's called, is, I believe, close to Cody's home. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had it there. But at the same time, that almost seems a little too obvious, because they don't want to tell fans, because they don't want fans flocking and trying to get autographs and whatnot. So, but as far as the TNT title, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the mid-card title. I still think they need a 6-man tag title. If the rumors from a couple of months ago were true, they're saving that for next year's Jericho Cruise, just as kind of a don't want to say talking point, because that's not the right phrase, or that's not the right term, but it's something wrestling-wise that's kind of a big, it's a big deal. Just like they had the AEW tag title change on the Cruise, it was a big deal. So let's see what else. So JR revealed why he hasn't been in the sound booth, and basically, he mentioned that. I'll just read it word for word. He said that Tony Khan pushed for him to stay home. JR said he's an asset for the company. He's got to protect himself. Or Khan's got to protect him, because Jim Ross knows he won't protect himself. He said the decision was made for him to stay home. So he's not going to be on Dynamite, at least for the next couple of weeks. He did say if this coronavirus stuff gets worse, he's obviously up there in age, so he's in that high-risk group. So he's not currently sick, or he's not currently ill. It's just more of a precaution. But, I think that was kind of obvious. They're not using Jerry Lawler on WWE.
And some of it's just, you can only choose how many people you have in the arena, and most of these places still.
Agreed.
And so a lot of these guys, if it's not necessary for them to be there, then you don't need to have them in the building. And so if Cody Rhodes can, just like Triple H has been stepping up on commentary, or another wrestler, they've been doing a lot of wrestlers just stepping up and doing commentary. You can't have all those guys in the building.
Right.
They did do an after show last night, though, which I thought was interesting, on YouTube with JR. And they did like a satellite, everybody Zoom call in or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw them advertise that. I haven't actually watched it. So I do like the idea of having I don't want to say random people on commentary, because I'm sure it's not random. I'm sure they just didn't say backstage to somebody, "Hey, you're going to be on commentary." I'm sure it was more thought out than that, but they have people like a couple weeks ago they had Asuka, which I don't necessarily think she did a good or a bad job.
It was
just
storyline for the
right. But the fact that that both companies are exploring new things, I credit AEW and I credit WWE for doing that. I didn't watch NXT last night, but I heard Sam Roberts did commentary. I don't know how that went.
It was not good.
I didn't figure, but just credit to both of those companies for trying new things in this time where, it's, if anything, it's a good time to experiment with different things, different
different wrestlers.
different avenues of, having your talent do different things. So, I want to read a couple comments real quick. So, William says he went from no fans last night to watching ECW One Night Stand 2006 to the rowdiest fans ever. Yeah, that's quite a transition. He says, "You're welcome and thank you in return for giving us good wrestling content, especially with all that's going on." I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, I mean that's just what we try to do. Like I said, I was going to do these podcasts from home, and then I was able to just, I needed to be here in the office at least a couple days a week, so I just worked it out to where I'm just going to be here on Mondays and Thursdays when we do the podcast. So, Will Joseph says AEW needs a mid-card title. Have it the way the old school IC title was. Use the mid-card to get them to the heavyweight title. I'd be okay with it being as a stepping stone. I kind of hope I agree with you. I hope they do that, but I more so hope that they stick with like the old school television title rules that, like I said, the NWA and WCW had. Michael says, I don't see any inner circle. There we go. Member winning the TNT belt. I don't know.
They like Sammy Guevara.
They do like Sammy Guevara a whole lot. I mean, his match with Kenny Omega on last week's Dynamite was a phenomenal match. I mean,
his match with Darby will be phenomenal too. Whether he wins or lose that match, they like Sammy, and Sammy proved, in that match with Kenny that he has those matches.
He can step it up for sure. I mean, some of these matches, and we'll get to the AEW recap later. Some of these matches that have been on Dynamite have been really good, but you got to remember they would have even been that much better with a crowd. Like the Omega Trent match from last night, like we said, Omega and Guevara from last week. So I don't know.
I see the point. I see like Inner Circle's already over. Why put it on an Inner Circle guy? So I definitely see the point, but it wouldn't. I don't think I would say I would be shocked if it went on Sammy.
Okay, I was going to mention this later, but we're kind of talking about it now, so I'll bring it up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sammy Guevara wins this tournament. Something else that was revealed on last night's Dynamite is that Jake Hager is getting a title shot against Jon Moxley, and that's in 2 weeks' time. I actually read that and this is just a rumor, but I read that Moxley has not been happy backstage with some of his, just some of the plans for him, booking wise, et cetera, and he's looking to work more New Japan stuff, especially with this coronavirus stuff going on here, and I guess it's dying down a little more in Japan, and it would definitely be a swerve, but reading that, it makes me wonder, are they going to take the belt off Moxley? I think it would be dumb if they did, but it would also go to AEW's credit that they're not afraid to pull the trigger on something, or I should say release, what's the analogy I'm looking for? They're not afraid to drop a storyline or an angle if it doesn't work, or if somebody is not happy or whatever. Case in point with the Nightmare family thing with Brandy and Awesome Kong and that whole thing. They dropped that, so I wonder if they would really put the belt on Jake Hager. If there's any truth to that rumor, and William makes a great point, Moxley's still IWGP US champion. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up. I was going to later, but we were talking about Inner Circle and titles and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they put the TNT title on Sammy Guevara. But who knows? If I had to pick one guy to win that tournament and to win the TNT title, it'd probably be Darby Allin. But the way that they booked him last night, they almost teased a heel turn. So if you had to pick somebody, who would you pick to win that tournament?
Cody.
Really?
The reason why I say that is that for me, it needs to have somebody, just like how the AEW world title needed to have somebody prominent win it first.
That's a good point.
To make it prestigious, to make it something that matters and means something.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to go on Cody, in my opinion.
No, that's a valid point for sure.
Not to mention that Cody is like lackluster in storyline right now. Like they just keep putting him in like these feud matches where like he's feuding with somebody that for bragging rights. Like,
well, Cody's like feuding with everybody at this point. I mean, he's got
like everybody's against him.
He's got the thing going on with Lance Archer, which I mean, they could have a Lance Archer Cody match in the finals,
which is where I think it's headed.
I think it's too soon to have Lance Archer win that title or win the tournament. I know they're building him up as this huge monstrous heel, but I think he needs to, and this is just by coincidence that, it's kind of part of the storyline of Cody saying, he needs to pay his dues and, this and that. I think he needs to be around AEW a little while before they put any kind of a belt on him. I know they're pushing the angle with him and Cody, so that's kind of a prominent spot at this point. But I don't know.
He doesn't have to lose clean though to lose and be
right
out of that tournament. I think this is a great tournament to get him all the way to the finals. But I'm kind of like, once he gets to the finals, whoever it may be, he could lose in a way that doesn't ruin his run,
right,
or his build.
And that first round match with him being Lance Archer and Colt Cabana, it makes sense for Lance Archer to win, but it would also, I think of the first round matches, that one I'm most intrigued by because of both of them being recent debuts. Colt Cabana, they've not had him take a loss yet. But at the same time, they've, like I said, they've built Lance up to be this monstrous, unstoppable heel. So, it's interesting to see the whole tournament. I'm excited about. So, just a couple other quick comments. Mark says this also puts AEW on a path to follow. They now have something to build storylines and feuds around. They also have an opportunity to feature another title and make it mean something. 100% agree. I really hope they make this title mean something like the TV title did back in the 80s. I've not checked out the current version of NWA enough to know if the TV title is as prestigious, so to speak, as it once was.
It's hard when you're on YouTube.
Well, I mean, William says, I hope Darby wins. That's my pick.
I think he's definitely a favorite. For sure.
Will says, I totally love AEW, but as a wrestler myself, I really don't like seeing moves that are supposed to be finishers used as everyday moves. Yeah, and I get that mentality. I mean, I consider myself an old school fan at heart, but I also enjoy multiple styles of wrestling. I actually talked with someone on Facebook yesterday about this that said that they don't like the flippy stuff that in particular like the Young Bucks do, and that's not a new style. I mean, that aerial style has been around since the 70s. I mean, it's not like it's a new thing. I mean, I enjoy everything from the aerial stuff to mat wrestling to the technical style. I mean, to each their own. If there's something in particular you don't like, don't watch it. If you like it, watch it. Michael says, I'm a huge Sammy fan, but Hager is getting a title shot and Jericho just had the belt. Yeah, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Sammy wins the TV title. If they put the world title on Hager with the rumors that I mentioned about Jon Moxley. So we'll see. Let's see. So you read Michael's comment. So good morning, Christina. All right, so let's tangent into WrestleMania a little bit. Before we get to our predictions, I wanted to read this story that I thought was really interesting. So if you guys have noticed, they're offering WrestleMania on multiple platforms for the first time ever. So it's obviously going to be on the network. It's going to be on Fight TV. It's going to be on the Fox app. You can also get it through DirecTV, Dish, whatever your cable or satellite provider is. It's very unusual, and like I mentioned on I think it was this past Monday show, I mentioned it, just the different price points depending on where, what the provider is. They're going this route, obviously, to, they're going on multiple platforms because there are going to be people that don't know about WrestleMania, at least being on Saturday and Sunday. There are people out there that aren't wrestling fans and don't know about WrestleMania, period, which seems odd to say, but it is what it is. Here's what I found interesting. The second reason that they're putting it on multiple platforms is because WWE Network was sort of the idea of Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, who at one time were high-level WWE executives. So they were released earlier this year, and at the time, like them being let go was a large in part due to disagreements with how to monetize WrestleMania in particular. And I think this is kind of McMahon's way of saying, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, screw them and their ideas. We're going to monetize WrestleMania how I want to because they're no longer here. So up until this year, it was offered for free every year, just to get to hook in new subscribers. And McMahon has basically, it looks like he's doing away with that because, according to this article I'm reading, they're looking to do 6-month commitments now, not a month-by-month plan. So if you are a network subscriber, don't be surprised if sometime soon, whether it's through WWE Network just operating as normal, or if it's with any kind of deal with ESPN Plus or any of the other rumors that have been out there, don't be surprised if anytime soon that if it becomes, instead of a month-by-month $9.99 or however much it is, if it becomes a commitment of 6 months or even a year. So I just thought that was interesting, and apparently, as far as WrestleMania itself, they're still editing matches as of this morning. So everything's in the can, so to speak, but the editing process is still going on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But speaking of editing, I didn't plan on mentioning this. Did you guys watch Montez's Ford?
His botch.
I think it was his botch. I think it was Seth Rollins. Well, all right. So Montez Ford on Raw the other night did a somersault outside of the ring, but literally just did a somersault onto the floor back first. And it looked brutal. But you would have thought, here's what I'm getting at. You would have thought that because it was pre-recorded that someone in the truck would have been like, oh, we need to edit this. We need to, get this out of the video because obviously it was a botch on somebody's part. It looked like Seth Rollins was supposed to grab his foot, didn't get there in time or missed it or whatever, but Montez Ford had to continue with the move. And was it Seth Rollins?
It was Seth.
Okay, yeah.
And I've read 2 different stories where they try to put the botch on the other person. Either way, it's really both their faults. I mean,
oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're
Montez Ford went pretty far too. He jumped out pretty.
It was an unplanned spot. I mean, something like that, you don't do an unplanned spot. Like if you're supposed to get hooked and tripped, but don't, you need to pull an audible, but not pull that audible. You need to stop. There's not a crowd, so you can probably a little more easily get so it was Austin Theory on the outside, get his attention and just stop and do, some kind of aerial move if you want to do that, but actually stop, grab the rope, and then do it or something like that. I don't know. Brian says those fake fireballs, though. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Brian, elaborate if you can.
That must be on YouTube. I don't see it on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, he's commenting from YouTube. And that's a good point. So not only are we on Facebook, we are on YouTube simultaneously, so you can check us out live on Facebook or on YouTube at goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. All right, let's give our WrestleMania predictions. We'll just go through these one by one in no particular order. And let's see. Otis and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, we don't have to necessarily give much, I guess, analysis on some of these lower card ones. I think Otis gets the win here.
Yeah, storyline doesn't make sense. I almost feel like they bring this storyline to a close too, and the rumor is that Sonya Deville was behind all of the bad text messaging, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if we're going to get a tease of a Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville split up too,
which was supposed to happen well before WrestleMania to lead to that match, but for obvious reasons, it's gotten put on hold. The women's tag title match, Kabuki Warriors against Alexa and Nikki. I think Alexa and Nikki win the belts.
Yeah, because they want to use Asuka in the singles title, or
Mhm.
you can just see that they want to use Asuka in a single nature. And I honestly think they need to use Kyrie there too. And so whether or not she gets a huge push or not is another story. But to at least have her in matches and stuff would be a huge help, especially on Raw.
For sure. And if you guys are watching us, let us know what your predictions are. We'll go through those and read your comments as well as we're going through our predictions. Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan for the IC title.
Sami Zayn.
This is one I was kind of split on. I almost think they're going to put the belt on Daniel Bryan, but I don't know where they're going to go after that. The only reason, here's my logic with a lot of my predictions. WWE, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a break after this is over, because the state of Florida has been shut down essentially to non-essential activity, non-essential businesses. WWE is not an essential business, and I don't see them making the effort to go outside of Florida to do empty arena shows. So I think that they're going to. My logic is I think they're going to do just about anything to do one of two things: to either make the crowd happy, the crowd being obviously the in-home audience, so to speak, or pull a swerve of some kind. I don't think you can necessarily pull any kind of a swerve just with this storyline. If they don't have Daniel Bryan win the belt, I think they push him and Gulak as a tag team. But I almost think just for a feel good kind of thing, I think they're going to have a title change here, and I think they're going to have a lot of title changes. I could be wrong, but
I'm going to go Sami Zayn, and the reason why is I think that there's other storylines to be built there, and to be played off there. I almost feel like Daniel Bryan was actually a filler opponent. I don't really feel like that was their initial plan or intentions.
I agree.
And so I don't think they're going to put it on him. I do think they're going to push Drew. I called the whole Drew Daniel team up as soon as they had that match against each other.
Right.
So I really feel like they're a fresh tag team. When the crowds come back, people will be chanting yes with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it'll be one of them turning on the other, to go back to having singles matches again against each other. But I like the tag team angle, and I think that they'd be a fresh tag team to add into the tag team title picture.
Agreed.
After WrestleMania, because it can't just be the New Day, Usos, and Miz and Morrison, Heavy Machinery. Like, those have kind of been the big four. Even Rude and Ziggler are in there, but they're not really in there. So,
yeah, I agree that he's more of a filler, and I think that could be maybe the way to look at it. That it could be a swerve if Bryan wins the belt.
Almost definitely.
I guess I'm more so looking at it from the lens of it would be more of that, the fans would want to see that title change just because of how Sami won it in the first place.
Right.
And even if you got to remember, even if you have any title change on here, while I don't agree with it, you can always hotshot a title back to whoever. You can always hotshot it back to Sami once WWE resumes business, so to speak.
I think it'll be a dirty win, though. I don't see him getting a clean win on Daniel. I think if he wins, it's going to be because Cesaro or Shinsuke or somebody.
Or it'll be a count out or DQ or something like that.
Right.
But again, I don't think that having count out or DQs on this card, you cannot have too many of those because of the circumstances. If you have one, maybe two, then give it a pass, I suppose. But WWE is going to want to have their talent put on as good of matches as possible with as many results with a finality, or that, again, that's not the right word, but fans are going to want to see pinfalls or submissions. They're not
want clear-cut wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see, Edge and Randy Orton.
That one's hard.
As just a flip, I agree. As a flip of the coin, I'm just going to say Edge.
I'm going to say Edge, one, from the fan standpoint. People don't want to see him lose in, like, his first official, like, match back. And they have other plans for him to face after this feud.
Right.
But the only reason why I could say Randy Orton is from the standpoint of they might take the storyline just a little bit longer. It may not end at Mania. It may not be the last match that they have. They could kind of push that storyline out. But for the sake of wanting to keep fans happy, it being his last match or his first match back, I'm going to go with Edge.
Yeah. Again, it's
maybe match of the night.
Ooh. You think?
Yeah, maybe match of the night. Maybe. There's a couple other ones, but I think those two have enough chemistry. I think they're veterans in this business, and when you put the word last man standing match with Edge and Orton, I think it has potential to be match of the night.
Yeah, and technically we're going to have two match of the night candidates because of the Saturday and Sunday airing. William says, and I'll tell you what, we'll just get to that. We'll just do this because of William's comment and because I like William. He says, I think Drew wins. He was on Busted Open Radio podcast yesterday. He sounded like he won the belt during the interview. I almost think that if you don't have Drew McIntyre win the title, if he doesn't win the belt, then WWE, what are you doing?
Listen, this is not a prediction. It's a spoiler. Drew McIntyre wins that belt for several reasons. Number one, Paul Heyman cannot be Brock Lesnar's guy anymore. He can't. He's got too many responsibilities on Monday Night Raw. Maybe during this time it's a little bit more simplistic because they don't have so many things to think about when it comes to putting on shows when they're essentially taping them.
Right.
So he can kind of be a little bit more freed up versus doing a live show where he has to be available.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs to get the belt off Brock so he does not have to put so much attention on building Brock.
I agree.
And I actually read a rumor that Paige could end up being Brock Lesnar's new manager, or
I wouldn't understand that.
I don't know how they would swing that, but I read that could be a possibility. Either way, that's one of the main reasons I think it's coming off Brock. The other reason is that Paul Heyman's the guy that decided to push Drew McIntyre. You don't put your name in the hat for Drew to win Mania or to win Royal Rumble, to go to WrestleMania against the person that you're representing, the guy that you're building, and then say, okay, now he's going to take the L. No, that is going to be the most surefire win of the night is Drew McIntyre over Brock. But I would say after this storyline, you can't keep having Brock lose these like matches that are so built in a way. Like they keep building him like he's indestructible. He's not indestructible anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rollins has beaten him twice. Roman Reigns has beaten him. And now Drew's going to beat him. And so I think you got to start making more realistic storylines with Brock after this conclusion.
Yeah. So Brian elaborated on his comment. He said the fireball comment was in reference to you saying people worked like the high-flying style like the Bucks in the 70s. If anyone pulled that nonsense in the 70s, they wouldn't be around for the 80s. Well, it existed, Brian. And Mark Cyrus, if you're on here, he's kind of like the wrestling professor, so he can back me up on this. Yeah, there are guys that wrestled the aerial style in the 70s. Like it wasn't as prevalent, no, but there were guys that were doing it in the 70s. And it was territorial based, so I mean, it wasn't as prevalent. You didn't have as many guys doing it, but it existed in American wrestling in the 70s. It more so existed in Mexico in the 70s. That lucha libre aerial style has been around for 40 or 50 years. So Yeah. Again, agree to disagree. I mean, that's
I see-
why a lot of people weren't doing it in the 70s, because agreed it wasn't it was a dangerous style of wrestling. And you know, if guys were doing that and weren't, I don't want to say trained, but if they didn't have enough practice doing it, yeah, accidents happen. You wouldn't have as many guys wrestling that style 10 years later after they had done that because of obvious accidents. So, but to address your comment, and I don't know if your fireball comment was saying that I was saying an incorrect comment or whatever, but do your research. I mean, guys wrestled like that. It's been around since the 70s. So, Mark Cyrus, if you're on here, I'm not sure if you're even on here, but Mark Cyrus is kind of like the professor, so to speak. He's a big wrestling historian. So, sorry, Cole, were you going to say something?
I was gonna. His name's Brian. Is that? Okay.
Yeah.
I elaborate a little bit more, because I feel like I understand kind of where you're coming from the standpoint that it, the moves that are done now versus back then, maybe a lot of those guys wouldn't have made it and been able to wrestle, 10 years later into the 80s. And I agree with Alex that it was there, but it wasn't as prevalent. So a lot of people didn't see it the way that we see it so overdone almost now. It's a very crucial part of wrestling now, versus then the crucial part of wrestling was the technical mat style, lock up and actually wrestle. So if you could just elaborate a little bit more in a comment maybe, or send us a message so I can understand where you're coming from, because that's a pretty broad statement to make when there was so much content at that time too. I myself am just now learning a lot about the territorial. Mark Cyrus just got on. I am just now understanding and kind of going back and watching territorial, and how everything was set up and things of that nature. But I will say that you don't get the things that you got out of like ECW if it was never there. Like those guys didn't just come up with the idea to start throwing themselves over top ropes and jumping off balconies and stuff. It obviously originated from somewhere, and ECW was like an off-brand out of that, so.
So he elaborated on the comment, and I just equated the Young Bucks with that kind of aerial style. I mean, I could have brought up Lucha Bros. I could have brought up the difference is the aerial style today is different than it was in the 70s and 80s. Like you didn't have guys in the 70s that were doing
double front flips and
you didn't have guys that were taking a Canadian destroyer off the top of a ladder onto a table. No, I get you didn't have stuff like that, but you guys, the point I was making is you had guys doing drop kicks off the top rope and high cross bodies and superplexes and
what was his comment?
He said, I knew there was aerial stuff back then. It's not news. It was you mentioning the Bucks prior to the comment. So no, people weren't working like the Bucks. I was meaning more of the aerial style, like the Lucha Libre style. So again, it was just kind of a miscommunication, not a big deal. Mark says the high flyer style was around and very popular for a long time. Yes, in the 70s it wasn't a featured style, but was an attraction for a lot of territories. So let's see. I'm not sure how we even got on that tangent. Oh, it was the Montez Ford thing, I think. All right, back to our WrestleMania predictions. Elias and King Corbin.
I think Elias wins because Rob Gronkowski is going to get involved in that match.
Agreed.
I mean, it's a funny match. It's going to be all comedic relief, in my opinion. But I think that Elias gets that win, and I think they're going to start trying to push him in the mid-card with this win. But again, Rob Gronkowski and probably Mojo Rawley both will be involved in this match.
Yep. Let's see. We've got Street Profits against Austin Theory and Angel Garza.
Street Profits.
Agreed. Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley.
Aleister Black.
Agreed. It's still advertised as a triple threat ladder match with Miz and Morrison, New Day, and Usos. Obviously, Miz has pulled out. I've read where it's just going to be John Morrison against one of the Usos, and that New Day isn't even involved. I can't confirm that. That's just what I've read.
So that's kind of weird to me, because the Usos are the ones who were upset that Miz showed up. to wrestle. So it kind of shocks me that they were willing to even, with everybody voluntarily pulling out.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of shocked me that they were one of the people that decided to go through with a match anyways. I think New Day is involved, and I think the reason why they haven't announced that this match has changed is because it's going to change either tomorrow night, same with the
Right.
Universal Championship match, or it's going to change the night of the match.
Could be.
And they'll shoot a promo like beforehand that says, why don't we just run with one of each of our people? And I read that the concept is going to be that the belts are still on the line, and it's going to be a singles match for the tag belts,
Right.
which I actually like. I think with the swerve, with the things that are going on, to do a triple threat match, a triple threat ladder match at that, with 3 really, really talented, especially if you go Kofi Kingston in that match, Kofi, John Morrison, and then either one of the Usos had the ability to put on high energy ladder matches.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could potentially be a really great match as well.
Yeah,
Sleeper match for sure. And if it's that way, even if it's just Morrison versus one of the Usos in a ladder match for the belts, I think you're going to see a lot out of 2 guys that you wouldn't expect.
I just hope it's better than the Elimination Chamber match. I was really disappointed.
These are 2
with
guys
that.
who aren't scared to do stuff. I think Elimination Chamber was really held back from the fact that a few of those guys couldn't do much of it. Dolph Ziggler doesn't do a high flying. Bobby Roode doesn't do high flying, or really big spots, I should say, in general. And then you got heavy machinery, which neither one of them is even climbing a rope. So
I hope not.
So, you really, that's why they put Lucha House Party in there, just from that standpoint, just to add a little bit of that. But John Morrison also gets held back a little bit from the fact that Miz is his partner, and Miz doesn't do a whole lot of that. So I think you're going to see a lot of great spots in that match. As far as prediction, depending on how they do it, I still think Miz and Morrison hold these belts.
Yeah, I have trouble with, again, not giving the crowd something to feel good about, or making the crowd happy. Again, the in-home crowd, obviously there's not going to be a crowd there. The audience, that's a better word. Making the audience happy. This is one where I would not be surprised if Miz and Morrison, in whatever way, shape, or form, if they keep the belts. But this is going to kind of be my, I guess, bravery pick. I'm going to say the Usos win the belts.
I get it, but I also will say this. Miz and Morrison, as far as the SmackDown programming goes, and really WWE's program here recently, have been putting on the most consistent promos.
Right.
Their promo with making fun of all the tag teams was hilarious. Their little Miz and Morrison chant that is so cheesy, but
it's the worst. But
it's
I love
so
it.
cheesy that it works. And I think that you got to give credit to Miz and Morrison from the standpoint of they are smart. They know what's going to work from a heel standpoint.
They know the business
on how to get over. And so I think to keep fans happy, this is one of the heel teams or heel personas, I should say, that wouldn't make fans upset.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are getting. I was tired of the Usos months
love the
ago.
Usos, don't get me wrong.
And New Day is kind of getting stale to me. I think once WWE resumes their normal storylines in full capacity, once they have crowds, I think they need to pull the trigger on splitting up the New Day, giving Big E his much-deserved singles run.
Mid-card?
No.
You think he's going to the top?
Push him as a contender against Drew McIntyre. Maybe not right off the bat, but
I could see where you're going. Especially if they could do it with Kofi, they could eventually do it with Big E.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that. I think they're scared to lose their merch sales.
See, that's the thing. Like, if you're WWE, okay, so you've got a marketing department, you've got creative. I'm not saying you have good creative, but you have creative. Do it in such a way that, like, you're not necessarily like an amicable split up, if that's the right word.
You could do it during the draft or the superstar.
Yeah,
shake-up
exactly. Just do it to where you have to split them up. Let's say so Xavier Woods is still on the shelf right now. Let's say you move him and Kofi to SmackDown.
Well, they're already on.
Or sorry, move flip flop. Move Big E to Raw. And
Keith Lee versus Big E. I like that.
That would that would be fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. That'd be fantastic. Who made that comment? William. Man. That'd be so fun to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like they could pull it off to some capacity, and I totally forgot about the draft, superstar shakeup, whatever you want to call it. Which actually, it's getting about that time if they do
That's
it.
what I was saying last show is that the superstar shakeup is usually about a month or so after a Mania. And I agree. I think that would be the perfect time to split some of these guys back up.
All right, so let's see. Let's push through some of these. We've got Seth Rollins and KO. I don't see how you don't have Kevin Owens win, especially if Seth Rollins is going to take a break with Becky.
See, I just don't. I don't know why Seth Rollins would take a break when he's in such a build with a new gimmick. That's where I just don't know if I believe.
Well, you got to remember, one of the AOP guys is on the shelf now again, and they're not going to use one of the guys from AOP. They're going to completely. I wouldn't be surprised if between I don't remember if it's Akam or Razor, whichever one of those guys got injured. With by default both of them being on the shelf because again they're not going to use one without the other.
They've tried that, didn't work.
And if the rumor is true, if Seth Rollins is going to take a hiatus, I wouldn't be surprised if they just completely abandon this storyline altogether and take a page out of AEW and think, okay, well, because of the injuries, this isn't going to work. I mean, there's not really any, and I thought about this, there's not really anybody on Raw or SmackDown that would make sense to put with that faction. The only thing that would make sense, and I think it's too soon to do it, is bring up Damian Priest from NXT and put him with that group. He's the only one that is has been pushed enough, so to speak, that would
kind of fit.
It would kind of fit, but I don't think you pull the trigger on that. I think you just.
I agree, and this is where my prediction comes in. I'm gonna say Kevin Owens, and the reason why is that if they end this, because I do know the rumor is that they're talking about rebuilding the Shield. Don't know why they would do that, but they really want to do a Shield versus new Wyatt family storyline, is what I read, and sometime this year.
Creative must be getting bored. They're just recycling ideas.
And I get it from the standpoint that they want to use the Fiend gimmick with the Wyatt family reunion. Like they want to kind of redo that and kind of get him some followers underneath him. And that could be when they do the Reigns versus Fiend match off or whatever. So I don't know when that would happen. But either way, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens from the standpoint of this will put Rollins on the shelf so they can repackage him and bring him back with a pop. And maybe make him a face again.
And it's going to be one of those things where, guys, or not guys, just wrestlers, they take a break, go on the shelf, injuries or not, vacation, whatever, and then they come back. Even if they were monster heels, they're going to come back and they're going to get a pop. Like, that's just how wrestling works. I mean, if you go back when Triple H had his quad injury in the was it late 90s? Early 2000s, I don't remember the timeline. His first quad injury, and he came back, Madison Square Garden return, and just because he was a monster heel, because him and Steve Austin had that two-man power trip thing, and then he got injured, came back, Madison Square Garden on Raw, got one of to this day one of the loudest pops of all time, and I think that's going to be the case with Seth Rollins whenever he comes back, if he does take a hiatus. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to get a monster pop, because I think part of that was due in part to the injury, to how hard Triple H worked to get back and things like that. But if it's a 6-month break, who knows?
My question is more this: do you think that this is last straw for AOP? I mean, this is second injury.
I don't know
back to back.
I don't know how you push them in any capacity, just like you said, because of the trend
I mean, they're not doing any. My thing is, the thing that bothers me is that you're getting injured and you're not even doing big spots.
No, 100%.
I mean, like, other than catching guys when they jump out of the ring, they usually are the base of getting jumped on, which can take a toll on the body as well. But that's the only thing that bothers me is that this thing really, this faction kind of splitting in a sense. That the person that it hurts the most is Murphy.
Agreed.
And
Agreed. He was getting pushed in a monster way.
He was finally getting some push, finally getting some love there. And AOP was still a big part of that because it helped build the faction. And so with them kind of being sat on the shelf, Seth Rollins potentially going on the shelf, what do you do with Murphy?
Exactly.
He goes back to just nothing?
I hope not. I mean, because he's probably, I would even venture to say, I hesitate to say this, but I would almost give him the edge over Seth Rollins as having more in-ring talent. Just now from a, again, that's just from an in-ring talent standpoint. I'm not saying
Seth Rollins' moveset goes stale though, and
that could be part of it.
When he's been pushed a lot, so you've kind of seen the extent. He's not like a Kenny Omega where you can evolve your
repertoire,
your moveset. You know, Kenny has so many things. I think Buddy Murphy's very limited in what he does too. I don't think he has 1,000 things he can pull out. We just don't get to see him.
Yeah, and agreed. I think that's part of the dynamic as well. Hey, Brandon, I'm just seeing your comment. Good morning. Let's see. We just got a few more here. With how we're doing on time, I don't know if we'll get to the recaps or not. If we do, we'll have to go through them quick, but we'll see. Undertaker and AJ Styles.
Undertaker.
I don't know how AJ Styles wins this match. It just it in no way, shape, or form would make sense to me, but it's WWE, so.
Well, can we just for a second talk about the fact that Undertaker cut probably one of the best promos in a long time?
It was a great promo. I enjoyed it.
I love that they're kind of doing his other gimmick during this time too. The Boneyard match, I get why they called it that.
We talked about that on last Monday's show. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, it's be kind of insensitive to call it a casket match or a cemetery. Or
I'm shocked they let him say "rest in peace" though.
Well,
like my thing, the only thing reason why I said it is if you're so concerned about not offending people who are going through a tough time right now, as far as people dying, casket, buried alive, whatever you want to call it. The words "rest in peace" to me signify the same thing. I get that it's his catchphrase, but yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of shocking that they.
And that's a good catch. 'Cause, I mean, I didn't even think about that, but I mean that is a good point. Mark says Rollins has loads of talent, but has conformed to WWE style and is comfortable working as he has been asked. Yeah, that's a great point because if for those of you who've not watched him in Ring of Honor when he was Tyler Black.
Or NXT, like when he first came in.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Mark is correct. I mean, he really, and this happened while he was in NXT. He just, and Kevin Owens to some degree as well.
You could say it about Samoa Joe, even AJ Styles. I mean, there's a lot of guys that you could say that they've dedefinitely watered down.
Seth Rollins for sure, though. I mean, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens both for sure that they've really basically said, hey, how you guys worked in Ring of Honor, we're going to work with you. We need to WWE-ize your moves, if that's, for the lack of a better way of putting it.
When you're corporate guys like they are, when they're telling you're going to be the face or you're going to be a prominent part of this, team or what we're trying to do here, obviously you conform.
Yeah, and I love I shouldn't say I love Kevin Owens. I think he's good in the ring. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this recycled Stone Cold gimmick that they've been trying to do, like this anti-authority kind of thing. Yeah, Nakamura for sure. Agreed, William. I just think that. So whenever they pulled that swerve a few years ago and put the Universal title on Kevin Owens when Finn Balor had to vacate it, I think that was WWE's way of saying, okay, we're going to put you in a prominent role. We're going to put you in a main spot, but you've really got to work harder to, kind of like we've talked about, conform to the WWE style, but at the same time, work on your build, so to speak. And I don't think he's really done that. And so I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Mark says, I worked an entire weekend with him as Tyler Black, and he is a machine when it comes to work rate and ability to adapt. Mark, did you work in? I didn't know you worked in the wrestling business itself. You have to talk to me more about that. I didn't know that you did that. That's really cool. All right. Let's just round these out real quick. We got 6 left. 5-way elimination match for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Sasha Banks.
I don't know about this one. Okay. I don't think you keep the title on Bayley. I think you put it on somebody else. I was going back and forth between Sasha and Lacey Evans, and I don't know why, but I feel like this could be one of their swerves, even if it's just a temporary title change to put it on Lacey Evans. But I'm going Lacey Evans.
I think,
and I don't really have more of an explanation other than that.
I think what's going to happen is Lacey's going to be the one that runs the gauntlet. I think she's going to be the one that kind of stays in the match for a while, and she's going to pin Bayley and then have to do that. Or what I think is even going to be more hilarious is that Sasha's going to fight Bayley in the last round of the gauntlet. But
I don't think it's a gauntlet match. I think they're all in the ring at the same time, aren't they?
Oh, I thought it was a gauntlet match.
Fatal 5-way elimination match.
Oh, elimination match. That's what I meant. Like she's going to kind of run the gauntlet instead of pinning people being a prominent part of the match. But yeah, I think Bayley's going to get eliminated, and it's not going to be like Sasha tried to steal the belt from her. I think Sasha's going to win the match because Bayley got eliminated, and then you're going to see the jealousy factors play into their friendship.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, John Cena and The Fiend.
You and I are going to disagree on this one.
You're going to say Cena, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm probably wrong. I completely.
We have to have some kind of like bravery tests whenever
this
doing
is
our
going
predictions.
to be my swerve, one of my big match swerves, because this is being booked as one of their bigger matches. Putting it as soon as they made it a Firefly Funhouse match, I was like, John Cena needs to win this match. It's not a real match. It's a Firefly Funhouse match. It doesn't hurt the Fiend, in my opinion, to lose a Firefly Funhouse match. It's going to be freaking nuts. Like it's going to be so creepy and just weird that I feel like you won't even remember that John Cena got the W in this match. But yeah, I'm gonna go John Cena.
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Fiend wins, but this is gonna be my pick, John Cena.
Okay. Now we got the title matches. So Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's Title. I'm going Charlotte Flair for the win and to win the title.
I'm Charlotte Flair. You can't have Rhea beat her, man. Like she's.
Well, you can. I mean,
you could have everybody beat somebody. I'm saying, on the grandest stage of them all, the best now versus who could be the best in the future.
Yeah, I don't even know about that.
But could be. I said could. She's young. That's where I give her credit. She's really young.
She's good, but she's going to have to step it up quite a bit if she's going to be in that conversation.
Of course. Just like Charlotte Flair had to step it up at some point in time in her career, So
yeah.
Charlotte Flair has to win that match and go down to NXT and do something with that phenomenal women's division that's there.
What else we got here? All right, Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler.
Shayna!
I was gonna say, I don't know how Baszler doesn't win this match. I don't know how she doesn't win the title here. I don't know. don't know how you would book that unless it's a swerve to where Ronda Rousey returns. You think she's going to attack Becky, but then she goes and attacks Baszler, or I don't know. Let's see. We talked about Lesnar and McIntyre. We both think McIntyre's going to win. Goldberg and Roman, which is not Goldberg and Roman, but that's still how it's technically advertised as of now. I think it's okay. Spoiler alert. It's going to be Goldberg and Braun Strowman. That's already been next to confirmed, if not confirmed already.
Barring any major swerves, meaning that WWE decides to tell us tomorrow night that it's not Braun Strowman and that it's somebody else, let's run with the idea that it's Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. And I struggle in this match because of the fact that it's not Roman now. Because hands down, I would have said Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah,
from the standpoint that they want the belt on him. Now, I don't know where Goldberg is at as far as staying on like a weekly consistent basis right now. Like, I don't know where he's at on holding the belt longer than maybe anticipated. So that's where I struggle, because if I was to really think long term, Braun Strowman doesn't win this match. They've proven that they don't want to use him in that capacity and in that way, and they have really nothing creative for him for that. So I just don't see them wanting to put the belt on him, and I was kind of shocked that he was the pick.
I think it was a stupid pick, but whatever.
I like Braun, don't get me wrong. So I'm not a Braun hater, but you've not booked him in a way to be believable to now beat Goldberg. Ever. Like, he's not, I mean, you had him lose to just about every prominent name to where you booked him in a way that he should have won and then didn't every single time. So now it's hard for me to go in this match and think Braun Strowman could win this match. I almost would have rather have seen Jeff Hardy or somebody who at least has big match potential and could pull a swerve like that.
Right.
And still be okay with fans. Fans wouldn't have been mad that Jeff Hardy won that belt. With Braun Strowman, I could see fans being mad. He doesn't even get the pop when he does the whole get these hands things anymore. Like, people don't chant that anymore. He's still trying to do it.
I mean, because it's gone stale. Like, it's just
the whole thing. He needs to go off air and repackage.
It's the wrestling business has become, not to use a pun on Jeff Hardy that you just referenced, the wrestling business has become such an enigma that it's almost expected that if you're a wrestler, if you're a mainstream popular wrestler that the crowd is familiar with, you almost have to reinvent yourself. It's become almost a must. It's become almost a given because so many other guys have done it and done it well. And I think that's the problem with Braun Strowman. And it's not his fault. I think it's, like we've mentioned, it's just WWE's creative and their lack of, being able to admit that something they're doing is not working.
I was giving your wife a hard time.
Yeah, I know.
I with all that being said, I'm going to say Braun Strowman.
Same here.
From the standpoint of, I don't think Goldberg wants to stay that long.
No, and even if it's just
we talked about hot shotting.
For all intents and purposes, though, this could have been Goldberg could have always planned on, okay, at WrestleMania, this is the end of my current and hopefully last stint in wrestling, and he may have not planned to work any dates past WrestleMania, so he could do one of two things. He could lose the belt on WrestleMania, or because I believe they have taped the Raw after WrestleMania, he could lose the belt on lose the belt on Raw after the night after WrestleMania to a Jeff Hardy, to a returning Samoa Joe, something like that.
Yeah.
That would be that swerve. So, okay, we agreed with most of them, which I was surprised with. But of course, I expected us to differ on some of them just because there's 16 matches.
You gotta know I'm going with John Cena.
Oh, I know. There's got to be bravery tests. I mean, just like filling out an NCAA bracket, you've got to pick some of your 13. You got to pick a 13 seed over a 4, and you got to pick some 11s over 6s, that kind of thing.
And R-Truth retains the 24/7 title. I don't know where that'll be played in, but I just feel like we're gonna see some kind of segment for that. So,
all right. I think. I don't know. Okay, like I said, I didn't watch NXT. Is there really much to recap at all? I mean, because AEW had its first match and its last match, and the rest was more like enhancement talent. That's not worth really mentioning so much.
The Velveteen Bobby Fish match opened the show. It was decent, but they did a lot of like building some of those guys that they brought in during that kind of gauntlet tournament style match that they did with the up and comers, and they put. What's his name over, and then he left. I forget his name. I think it goes by ACH now or something like that.
Oh,
I forget what his name was in NXT. It's Michael. No, I forget his name now. Either way, they had Dexter Lumis fight last night.
What a name!
Which, if you don't know who he is, he was in TNA. Impact for a while, and I actually enjoyed his character there. Not a big fan of Dexter Lumis, the gimmick right now, but they kind of just set him up in a
Jordan Miles.
I
couldn't think of it.
So he got a match, and that was kind of the extent there. The gauntlet match to set up the NXT women's ladder match for the #1 contender was last night, and they actually put Blackheart in a very prominent role in that match. She kind of ran the gauntlet, and of course Dakota Kai.
Well, as I was reading this earlier, some of this earlier this morning, some of it late last night. As soon as Dakota Kai was announced for the match, you knew she was going to win. I mean, it was pretty much a given.
Especially when you're going to put it in such a ladder match, potential, high stakes, high energy match. Dakota Kai has to be in that match.
Yeah. Just real quick, guys, if you're still on the stream, before we end the show, I promise we're going to give more details about our next belt giveaway. So stick around for a few more minutes. Hang out with us for a little bit longer, and we'll get there.
We had Kushida versus Joaquin Wilde, which was a really good match, but it's just two guys that aren't getting a lot of push. But the main match of the night was the Damian Priest, Dijakovic, Keith Lee.
Which you knew it had to have been. I mean,
triple threat match.
This could have been a match of the night on an NXT TakeOver.
Yes, and so this kind of tells you, I told you, watch NXT for the next couple of weeks, because this is going to tell you kind of where people are at. Now, yes, you could have him just vacate the belt, but this tells me that Keith Lee's staying on NXT. Him getting the pin on Dijakovic nonetheless too.
Right.
Is just setting up more and more storylines. So, great match. Enjoyed NXT for the most part. Like I said, it was a little bit of a softer of a night, but I think you're going to see that with them having really, really good main events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, and I think that so NXT with the empty crowds, NXT seems to be going the route of they're having their main event to close the show, which I like. AEW seems to go back and forth as to if they're going to have their main event open the show or close the show. I think it's pretty clear that AEW opened their show with their main event last night, whether it was on purpose or not. But I think that match would have been. It was a good match, and of course I'm referring to Kenny Omega and Trent. That would have been a great match. It was a good match. It would have been a great match if there was a crowd.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll quickly recap AEW here in a second. The thing I wanted to mention is, I don't know if anyone saw this, but Dominik Dijakovic tweeted last night the date 4/4/2020, which is Saturday's WrestleMania. It could be nothing. It could just be him saying, I'm going to watch it. But do you think that they got him involved in any way in WrestleMania, like during the tapings?
The only way I could see him involved in tapings.
Well, here's what I'm getting at. and sorry to interrupt you. Here's what I'm getting at. Did they have him lose last night because he's not staying? Maybe he's being brought up to the main roster, and I'm not saying I agree with it because I don't. I think he still needs to work on. He needs to work on his in-ring work, but
So, no, they call him up. It would be one of the worst decisions they could ever make. I don't think it's a call up. You have to understand that there is some NXT representatives in Mania, though, and I could definitely see him interrupting that tag match. I could see him attacking Austin Theory. I could see him attacking Angel Garza. I'm trying to think if there's any other people I could see him attacking. From the standpoint of like maybe bringing somebody back down to NXT even. That's on the card, like a Drew Gulak or Daniel Bryan even.
to me, nothing really makes sense.
Sammy Guevara, or not Sammy Guevara, Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn, yeah.
Even getting involved in the Intercontinental match to where Daniel wins unclean.
Maybe he aligns with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that. I agree. I think it'd be a bad call.
Hopefully, it's just him tweeting, kind of pumping up WrestleMania.
Pumping up WrestleMania and it still being a tease. Because
I'm gonna have to go read more about that now because I just.
I mean, literally, if you just go to his Twitter, the tweet is literally let's try that again. The tweet literally just says 4/4/20. That's it. Nothing else. There's not like a photo or a GIF or anything. It's just 4.4.20.
Unless somebody else pulled out of a match that we're not aware of that hasn't been shared with us and that he's getting a shot on a Mania card, maybe not win and still be on NXT. So barring that there's somebody else that dropped out of a match somewhere.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know. I saw that last night and I thought it was really interesting and just wanted to mention it. So I just want to run through AEW's event last night. So Cody and Shivani start off the night on commentary. Trent and Omega go almost a 20-minute match. They literally, Dasha Gonzalez, who was on the ring announcing, she even said 1 minute remaining right before Kenny pulled the one-winged angel and got the win. Like I said, it was a very good match. I think it had great match potential if there was a crowd. The rest of the card was featured some enhancement talent, I'll call it. Hikaru Shida gets another win. After the match, they kind of have like a confrontation with her and Britt Baker. They have a vignette for Moxley and Hager. They announced the title match. Then we have Marco Stunt against Lance Archer, which was a squash match, essentially. I'm surprised it went as long as it did. Lance Archer gets the win. One thing I wanted to mention, though, I want to back up a little bit to the Omega-Trent match. Trent pulled off this really cool move where, so Kenny is sitting on the second rope, and Trent does this baseball slide German suplex. If you've not watched it, it was a super innovative move that, like, I actually went back and I had to rewind it and watch it a couple times. I was like, that's really, like, that's not a move I don't think you necessarily can plan. That must have been something that he's done on the indie circuit before AEW that, I don't know. I just thought that was really neat. So then after the match, Lance Archer. Sorry, guys. Lance Archer continues the assault. He literally tosses Marco Stunt from the ring to where like Orange Cassidy and Best Friends are standing. Billy Gunn's out there, and it was quite the heave. So,
well, when you weigh 40 pounds, it's
agreed.
Not hard for a guy like Lance Archer to throw you.
Yeah. Let's see. And then at this point, Colt Cabana has replaced Cody on commentary with Shivani. They have a Dark Order vignette, and it pretty much appears that Brody Lee is mocking a lot of Vince McMahon's backstage or otherwise mannerisms. And
Did you watch his Talk is Jericho podcast?
I have caught bits and pieces of it.
It was very interesting to hear like his insights on what he wanted to do.
What caught me is, and I'll have you finish in just a second. What caught me off guard is just how articulate Brody
His
Lee
voice.
is, and just like how normal he sounds. Because
His New York voice.
yeah, I've just anyway.
Yeah, he wanted to be like an articulate monster though.
Yeah,
He's a horror film fan. He wants to be exactly what he's doing in Dark Order, and now knowing that that's what he wanted to do, it makes complete sense of why he's the leader of the Dark Order.
mm-hmm.
And I like that he's mocking storylines, because what he wanted to do is what they're trying to do with like the Fiend, kind of is making him like smart. He's not like stupid and just some big-bodied guy who's coming in and destroying people, but he's actually like got a plan.
Right.
And Brody Lee's got a plan. He's a big guy. That power bomb he delivered to his own Dark Order member after that match last night was hard.
That was a stiff move for sure. So, like you mentioned, they Dark Order numbers 8 and 9, which I thought was kind of funny, go up against Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. They get the win. Like you said, after the match, Brody Lee comes out and just acting like he's upset, comes out and power bombs one of them, then leaves. And then we have the Jericho segment with Vanguard. If you've not watched this segment, I get the segment from last week with Jericho and Matt Hardy. It was the word I saw online was polarizing. A lot of people loved it or hated it. This was kind of along the same lines. I feel like this whole storyline, you're either going to love it or hate it. I think it's brilliant. I like it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They do this thing where Jericho invites Vanguard once again to join the inner circle. He literally hangs a baby or an infant-sized shirt, inner circle shirt from Vanguard, but then Vanguard flies off. Jericho tries to sick his dogs after it. He gets away.
I love how he says release the hounds.
Release the hounds, yeah.
If you don't know that was a Shield reference,
Yeah.
or more of a Roman Reigns, but it's a Shield reference. I thought that was funny.
It was a dig at them for sure. I mean, especially because of the size of the dogs.
Yeah, they're all like kind of girlyish or I don't want to say girlyish. They were more
They're petite dogs.
petite, kind of non-vicious dogs at that, and there's 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, there were more than 3, in all fairness.
I only saw 3.
I think they were like 5 or 6, but they were all small. And then they update on Nick Jackson, the storyline update. He's they show a vignette of Nick and Matt working in a ring that has been set up on one of their properties' tennis courts. They just show them working in the ring, talking a little bit. Then the segment ends with Nick saying he's still not ready to return yet. And then we close out the show with the Darby Allin and Cody against Guevara and Spears match. I was actually not surprised that Guevara and Spears get the win. I read online where a lot of people were shocked by it. I wasn't. I think it makes sense because, like you, I think you're going to have Cody defeat Shawn Spears in the first round, and I think you're going to have Darby Allin defeat Sammy Guevara in the first round. So to put over the tag team that's probably going to take the L in the tournament, I think it makes sense. And it gives Shawn Spears in particular a win. I mean, his record was atrocious.
They want to do something with him. They just can't figure
Agreed.
out what they're going to do.
Just one second.
Overall, though, it was a good card. I really enjoyed. And I like the fact that they're pushing QT and Dustin
Mm-hmm.
as a tag team, and that they're actually 2-0.
Yeah.
And that they were kind of talking.
Well, they're
about
3-0 now because I think that was their third match, and I don't think they've lost
They're
yet.
undefeated, yeah, and that means, and they were kind of talking about how they're kind of in the tag title picture.
Yep.
I like that.
All right. All right, guys. So we're going to end our show with giving you some more info about our belt giveaway. But first,
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
just wanted to mention that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast with new shows every week on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as a number of other platforms where you can access your podcasting. For those of you watching us live right now, each show is archived, and you can go back and watch any one of them on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, or our YouTube channel, I should say, as well. You can go to facebook.com/Going Broadway Podcast. You can also go to goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. Check those out. You can also follow us on Twitter at GoingBRDWYPod. Please also download our free app. It's called Yo Radio. It can be also downloaded through the App Store or Google Play. Yo Radio is the most advanced user-driven streaming radio service on the market today. Everything you'd expect and more from the most full-featured platforms ever developed. Listen to an endless genre of music, podcasting, including our show via the Lineup channel, sports, news, and more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's always 100% free. Again, that's Yo Radio, available via the App Store, Google Play, or by visiting yoradio.com. You can also check us out via our web host at lineupmedia.fm. All right, guys. So for those of you that are still on the stream, thanks for hanging out with us. So as far as our belt giveaway, like I've mentioned, we are going to do the belt giveaway either once we hit 2,000 likes on Facebook or 1,000 likes on Twitter. We're going to do the belt giveaway whichever one happens first. But the thing I'm going to change is that you don't have to do both. If you like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter, you're going to get 2 entries into our giveaways. So we're going to do a t-shirt giveaway at 1,500 likes on Facebook, and then the belt giveaway either once we hit 2,000 likes on Facebook or 1,000 follows on Twitter, whichever happens first. I'm also going to mention that we're not going to just give 1 belt away. We're going to give 2 belts away. And I've got one of them right here that I'm going to show you now. Just 1 second. All right, guys. This is one of them that we're giving away. This is the Big Gold. The classic Big Gold. There's not a nameplate on this one, but real leather strap, real plates. It's not a toy, so very heavy. This is one of them that we're going to be giving away. That's good for it. So if you haven't already, like our Facebook page, give us a follow on Twitter, and we'll be doing that belt giveaway hopefully sooner than later, but that's where I need your guys' help to help us get there. Share our Facebook page in any groups that you're in. Just share it on your personal Facebook page, share it on your Twitter pages. Just share it anywhere that you have social media, and help us get to the 2,000 on Facebook and 1,000 on Twitter. So once again, guys, I can't say enough how much we appreciate the viewership, the listenership, the support. It's just one of those things where I'm overwhelmed almost at how quickly this has become just such the traction that we've gotten behind this. When Cole and I decided we wanted to do this, we just wanted it to be something fun to do, and eventually, long term, maybe get some sponsors. But we're at the point where we're exploring that avenue now, and we thought it was going to take maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 months, but 2 months in, we're already exploring that. So I appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, any point, feel free to contact Cole or myself. And I think that's about it. Any final thoughts? I mean, it's WrestleMania weekend. I know there's not a crowd, but it's still WrestleMania weekend.
All I'm going to say is you can't see me.
I knew there was going to be a John Cena reference.
Your time is up. My time is now.
For some reason, anytime I hear John Cena, I just think back to that prank phone call.
I love it, though.
It's John Cena.
Anyway,
just gold.
It is. If you've not watched it, check out the prank phone call the prank John Cena phone call. They do it on some kind of radio show. I mean, it's a few years old, but it's never.
We need that soundbite.
It
That's
never-
a soundbite you need to get.
It's. I'll work on that. It's never going to get old. So, yeah, thanks, William. I appreciate it. You guys be safe as well. And we'll be back here Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. And until then.
And so, goodbye. Mwah. And good night. Bang!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.